Okay, we're here for another Ask the Expert, this time on conspiracy theories. We have with us today Dr. Joanne Miller. Dr. Miller is an associate professor of political science at the University of Delaware. She is an expert on political psychology, focusing on the causes and dangers of conspiracy theories and political propaganda. You might have seen some of Dr. Miller's work. It was used to produce the Last Week Tonight episode on this very topic, and she was also on the Love It or Leave It podcast. So welcome, Dr. Miller.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's just jump right in here. So what exactly is a conspiracy theory, and maybe could you give us some examples?
Sure. So social scientists tend to define conspiracy theories as the belief that a powerful group of people are secretly plotting to engage in either legal or illegal or ambiguously legal actions that benefit themselves or their groups or their small groups of people. So the key pieces to a conspiracy theory are one, that it's more than one person. So you conspire with a group of people. There's no specification of how big the group has to be. It can be 2 people, it can be 50 people, it can be 100, whatever. And that it's typically it's powerful people who are doing this because they're the ones who are able to conspire because they have the power to do so. The other feature of conspiracy theories that's important is they tend to be not falsifiable. What some scholars call sort of a self-sealing belief, such that any kind of information that you give to people that might counter or debunk the conspiracy theory tends to be viewed as part of the conspiracy itself. So, oh, well, that just means that even more people are hiding and behind this and plotting. And so that's why we call them sort of self-sealing belief systems. Some examples of conspiracy theories. We can think about conspiracies as theories as being either nonpartisan or partisan, and either ones that maybe Democrats or liberals would be more likely to believe, or ones that conservatives or Republicans would be more likely to believe. On the nonpartisan side, we have conspiracy theories such as the US government is hiding the fact that aliens landed in Area 51 in Utah in the 60s, Roswell, or that the JFK assassination was actually an FBI plot, or even that chemtrails, which are the things that you see out of airplanes, that sort of white line in the sky, that chemtrails are either government spraying to control the weather or mind control some particles that are controlling our minds in some way. A couple of real quick liberal conspiracy theories. One surrounding 9/11, that the 9/11 was an inside job, or that the Bush administration knew about 9/11 before it happened. These are what social scientists call truthers, 9/11 truthers. On the right, we have the belief that Barack Obama wasn't born in the United States. And so we've got truthers and birthers, and they're sort of on opposite sides of the ideological spectrum.
Right. So you hinted at this a little bit, but are conspiracy theories something new, or have they been with us for a long time?
They've been with us forever, and I'm talking about conspiracy theories that are based in the United States, but they also cross countries, all over the world. Even the founding of the United States, the American Revolution, was based in part on some conspiracy theories around what exactly the British government was planning to do with the colonies, or was doing with the colonies. So absolutely, they've been around forever.
We like to think our side, whichever side that happens to be, is smart, and the other side is stupid. So is one part or the other more likely to believe in conspiracy theories?
The short answer is, in general, no. That there are, what's more likely to be related to conspiracy beliefs are some either psychological or situational factors that cross political ideology. And I'll talk about those in a minute. But on the ideology or party side of it, what we tend to find instead is that political context matters. So in general, people on the losing side of politics are more likely to believe conspiracy theories than people on the winning side of politics. And so there are ebbs and flows in this. People in power, people in power don't tend to believe that their side is engaging in conspiracies, but the other side does believe that. So losers believe this. So, for example, the 2016 election is I collected some data pre and post the 2016 election. So we have an Obama Democratic administration, the election happens, and then we have a Republican Trump administration. Pre-post election data on general conspiracy thinking, questions like, in general, we never really know who's running the government. There are secret people behind the government. Before the election, Republicans scored higher on those questions. After the election, Democrats did. And so there was a change over time where, right, October and November, the thing that happened in the middle is the administration changes. And so we see that that's more of a powerful predictor, that situational losing, who's on the losing side, than consistent over time, one party versus the other.
That's interesting. It matches up with a lot about what we know about polling. People will change their beliefs depending on who's in charge of the government. This extends to conspiracy theories and also is the economy doing well and all sorts of other things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So are conspiracy theories dangerous or something that we just argue about on Facebook and Twitter and with our tinfoil hats wearing dogs and uncles?
Yes. So they can be dangerous. And the concern is there's a twofold set of concerns. One is the relationship between conspiracy theory beliefs and trust in government and trust in institutions. Especially in a democracy, one of the foundations of democratic government from a citizen's perspective is trust. Trust in our leaders and that they're not engaging in these types of plots. So to the extent that there's a relationship, it probably goes both ways. If you're low trust causes conspiracy theory beliefs, but conspiracy theory beliefs also cause a decrease in trust. So as trust erodes as a result of conspiracy theory beliefs, that's a problem, right? And that can be maybe dangerous is too strong of a word if we're talking about danger to people's lives, but certainly dangerous to the health of democracy, absolutely. But we also see that conspiracy theories can be dangerous to people's lives, to community health. So conspiracy theories around vaccines that lead people to be less likely to get vaccine or have their children vaccinated because they think vaccines are a big plot by pharmaceutical companies, that they're hiding the downsides to vaccines to make money, or whatever the case may be, that's a problem for community health. And also we've seen specific conspiracy theories around QAnon and in particular what's known as Pizzagate. This belief sort of formed through Reddit and 4chan, that's kind of related to Q and an offshoot of Q, that there is a pizza place in Washington, D.C. called Comet Ping Pong Pizza, where there was a big child pedophile sex ring that was being operated out of the basement of this pizza place. There was a man from North Carolina who got deep into this conspiracy theory, who drove to Washington, D.C. With, I think it was an automatic or a semi-automatic weapon, and he had another gun, I guess, and a knife in his pocket, and walked into the pizza place while it was operating to find this, to expose this pedophile ring in the basement. And so that is obviously dangerous as well.
Is there anything, maybe thinking about the current COVID-19 situation with conspiracy theories and real danger, I think?
Yeah, absolutely. So real quick, because COVID's a great case to talk about the other kind of causes of conspiracy beliefs or antecedents of them, is there are some psychological and situational ones. And so the primary reason that people tend to believe conspiracy theories has to do with uncertainty. When you feel uncertain or powerless, or you feel like you've lost lack of control. So a big negative event happens and it's scary. You don't know why it happened. You feel powerless. You feel uncertain. You feel like you've lost control. It's a natural, ordinary thing for us to try to explain the event. We all want to explain the world around us because it helps us to predict and operate in that world effectively. And so when these negative events happen, when we feel uncertain, we try to seek out explanations as a way to gain back control. What can happen then is we end up connecting dots that shouldn't be connected, right? We see two things that occur at about the same time. Correlation doesn't equal causation, but we see a causal relationship, and we're motivated to do so because doing so makes us feel better. So with something like COVID, this is a perfect example of a big, scary, negative event that's made lots of people feel powerlessness and uncertain and loss of control. And so we all seek out explanations. Why is the virus occurring? What's causing it? What is spreading it? And so forth. And so one conspiracy theory that's arisen with regard to COVID is that 5G towers are spreading the virus. Now, it sounds crazy. And to be clear, 5G towers are not spreading the virus.
Yep.
But it stems from, and the Last Week Tonight episode on conspiracy theories that aired this past Sunday showed this map where you can see maps of where there are 5G towers and maps of COVID hotspots. And you see that correlation between those two things and say, look, one is causing the other. Of course, the thing that's causing them both is population size and population density. But we see those two things and connect them. And then what's psychologically effective about that belief then is now I have something to fight. Your students won't get this reference, maybe you will. I talk about fight the tower, right?
Yep.
Fight the power, the Spike Lee movie, Do the Right Thing. And so we can fight the tower. We can't fight the virus, but if we can knock down towers, which some people in Britain have been attempting to do, we can stop the spread, and that helps us gain control.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
Yes, in a way, yes.
Yep. Okay. So are there any tips or tricks maybe for teaching people or helping people that might have fallen for a conspiracy theory? I should say I'm a New Yorker. We're confrontational sometimes. I'm guessing that's not the way to go.
Yes. Confrontation. So the one primary tip is it's not effective to call somebody a conspiracy theorist, call them an idiot, call them crazy, call them a tinfoil hat wearing, there he is up there, crazy person. And that's just common sense, really. You're never going to have an effective dialogue with someone if you start out by insulting them, right? So that's not necessarily specific to conspiracy theories.
Write that down.
Yes, right. I'm a New Yorker too, so this is a hard lesson I've had to learn through the years. But it's one of the things that I find is, especially if you find someone, one of your friends or family members, who say posting conspiracy theories on social media, whether it be Instagram, whatever, Facebook, is I find that it's better to take the conversation offline, or at least private online. And because it's less likely that the person digs in and feels defensive because they don't have to perform to other people, right? They don't have to defend their beliefs that are being attacked now in public. If you remember to treat people with empathy, ask them questions about the belief, enter in a dialogue where you are being sort of willing to hear their side if they're willing to hear your side. And sometimes pointing out logical fallacies, so showing the maps and so showing, look, this is also population density, for example, can work in some circumstances. There are some people, but then you also have to know when to cut bait, right? When to say, I'm not going to convince this person, and this dialogue is not productive. I would say one other thing, and that's two things. One is that once a conspiracy theory takes hold, once someone believes it, like I said at the beginning, they're very hard to debunk. So one thing that we can all do that is in our control is to work to not spread the conspiracy theory in the first place. So I think it's important for all of us to take a second before we hit send, right? Ask ourselves, one, is this something that's being widely talked about in lots of media outlets, trusted media outlets? Am I just seeing this in one source? If it's just one source, maybe I should wait before I hit send. Ask yourself, why are you rushing to hit send? Is it because this thing confirms your beliefs and you want to believe it, right? Maybe we need to take that step back and not rush to be the first one out there with the scoop. Because once it's out there, it's much harder,
right,
to reel back in. You can't believe something you don't know exists. Right? Once you put it out there and it sticks with somebody, right? Then you get into that process of trying to debunk it when this has now become part of their belief system.
Great. That's pretty useful. I would have to work hard at some of those things, but it can be done. So my last question, I ask everyone this: if you could wave your political science magic wand and have people know one thing about government, what would that be?
I would say that the one thing that I would want people to know about government is that it is government in general, and the people in government are more trustworthy than you think they are. And that we're all humans, and our elected officials have the same foibles that we have and the same blind spots that we have, but they're not any more nefarious or any less trustworthy than any other human being. That in general, our system of representative democracy works if we let it work. Yeah,
great. That's good to know. Okay, all right. So thanks for answering my questions. Thanks for teaching us about conspiracy theories. So thank you.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right.